Hello and a warm welcome to the AI with Arun show. Have you ever boarded a flight wishing for that elusive upgrade but felt stuck with a middle seat and basic amenities? What if airlines use AI to predict your exact preferences and offer personalized upgrades or perks before you even checked in? Imagine a travel experience where every flight feels tailored just for you, dynamic pricing, seamless extras, and zero guesswork. In order to address all of this, we are joined by a very special guest today, Sachin Goel, who is the founder and CEO of Optiontown and OmVrti.ai, which are travel technology companies that partner with airlines globally to build innovative, data-driven products. So, Sachin, a very warm welcome to our show.
Thank you, Arun. It's my pleasure to be here.
Excellent. So, Sachin, let's start with the founding vision and the market disruption that you guys have brought in. So, what specific pain points in the airline and the travel industry inspired you to found these companies? And how did you identify unmet opportunities that other founders overlooked?
Sure. So this really started like more than 20 years ago when I was at MIT at the Center for Transportation Studies. And what we realized back then was that in the airline industry, it's an amazing situation that customers are having a lot of stress. It's a lot of inefficiency when you are finding flights or finding fares, right? Often people spend more time searching for flights than the flight duration itself. So if you're taking a long haul flight and it's quite high dollars, people are often spending, 2, 3, 4 hours here, 2, 3, 4 hours there. Overall, maybe, I don't know, several days, sometimes several weeks. And it causes a lot of stress, a lot of stuff. And even for short haul flights, which may be 2, 3, 4 hours, sometimes often people end up spending a lot of time. And still, as you said in your intro, are stuck in a middle seat, something that they can't personalize. And so there's a lot of pain. There are a lot of pain points on the customer side. But when we looked at the aviation side, on the airline side, we also saw that majority of the airlines were not making money. Wow. So as consumers, you would think that if they are charging such high prices, and I'm sometimes paying double the money that what I paid last time or 50% more, that means airlines are minting money. But that was not the case. Aviation industry, if you look at IATA numbers, if I show you the numbers last year, it's close to $1 trillion of global sales with just 1% profit for the entire industry. And that is on good years. 1 or 2% profit comes on good years when there are extrinsic factors that cause some of those dynamics. So that's such a pity. Right, that's such a pity. So there's something broken here, right? That's what we realize. There's something broken where both sides are suffering. Right? So why is it so? So if I give you another example, is that when customers are traveling, first frustration they feel when they are actually buying travel. But then, God forbid, if you have to make changes, right, or you are into a disruptive situation like there's a snowstorm or you miss your flight or something or bad connection, that just experience, it just the frustration level exponentially increase. You must have seen people standing in lines for hours and hours and not even knowing what's going to happen. None of this has to be there. Right? None of this is required. So those were some of the motivations that said that, look, we created a technology at MIT, which actually is a little bit more abstract than this. And I will touch upon that. But those were the motivation that said, this is a great set of algorithm, great set of vertical AI that we've invented. That was part of my research. Why not apply it in aviation? It's applicable, and it can help to fundamentally disrupt this industry. Think of it like Uber. You know what Uber did to the taxi industry, right? It was a pretty rudimentary industry. Both sides are suffering. Calling a cab or even the taxi drivers, none of them had a great time. Here comes a technology, fundamentally disrupts, and now both sides are better off than what they were before. So that's essentially the way we see it.
And Sachin, you said it right. I mean, most of us who have traveled, and pretty much all the viewers that we have on AI with Arun show, they would have experienced at least a couple of times in their life history, travel life history, where they're stuck for one reason or the other. So what you're doing is indeed helping a lot of people. So Sachin, from inception until now, what single bold bet or non-traditional decision most shaped your trajectory in travel tech?
Okay. Well, there were quite a few bold bets, let me tell you. First of all, our technology is applicable to multiple industries. And when I was at MIT, I had not personally worked in any one of them. So the first bold bet was, okay, which industry we should focus on first. And so that was after 6 or 10 months of just puzzling through this question. We could apply the science to travel. We could apply the science to general retail. We could apply it to cars sales, and many other industries. So the first bet was, how do you decide which industry you go for? And we decided in travel, and I think it has certainly paid off. And I can tell you why we applied it in travel, because travel, number one, travel is a service industry. And secondly, there's enough frequency of purchase and the size of the transaction is significant enough for people to willing to invest their time to fix it. If there's something very small, then you don't even want to spend the time and energy to fix that experience. But if there's something, significant size and significant frequency. So those were some of the reasons. And the other reason was actually what I said earlier. The airlines were also having such a tough time. So it's like both sides are ripe for disruption.
Yeah. So Sachin, we'll talk about the airlines in subsequently. For the traveler, if I'm a traveler today, I go on to Optiontown. What are the options that I have that you offer in Optiontown?
Yeah. So let me tell you about Optiontown. So at Optiontown, what we done is we have created a proven market with hundreds of millions of dollars of products sold and to millions of customers, where they can buy a subscription for multiple trips. Okay. So let's say you travel to 5 destinations or even 5 times within the same destination. When I say 5 times, not necessarily the same person traveling 5 times, maybe a family of 4, and they are taking 4 trips. Essentially 1 trip, but 4 people. So we just call it 4 trips. To the same place, or you go to some place twice, or sometimes you go to A place, sometimes you go to B place. And every time you are spending the time and energy and effort to look through those, right? What if you could have a subscription where you say, look, I know I need to go to these 5 places, and I'm willing to buy a subscription that allows me to take multiple trips over the next 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 months, and I can share it with either my business colleagues who are with me for my entire company, or with my family and friends, right? And what if I could get a great deal, meaning I could save 20, 30%, 40% of the cost. And secondly, I can personalize it to the level that I want. You mentioned something in your intro which sounded like music to my ears, which was that how can someone personalize it so that they don't have to guess at all? Somebody's guessing for them what they want, right? So our AI can actually do that. It can allow you to, even though you fly commercial aviation, so commercial flights, but you would feel that you're flying private, meaning you're flying a private jet. You'll have similar kind of flexibility, convenience, and comfort. And people want that. We believe people want that. People don't want to be treated like cattle class when they are traveling, spending thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars and still being told, sir, I need you to step out of the line because you are a little bit overweight in the bag. So either you can leave the bag or you can leave some of the stuff out. You can't leave the stuff out because that's your stuff. Where are you going to keep it? And you can't pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for that. You just feel mistreated in such events. So what you want is somebody who can guess what your needs are, how they are changing, how they're evolving, and automatically evolves. So that is an AI subscription that we are offering to customers. Businesses, we have lots and lots of businesses who are buying, who can get a fixed budget. So your trip cost is fixed now, and you're saving 20, 30, 40%. And you eliminate the search time, the frustration, right? And when you want to make bookings, you just snap your fingers and your bookings are done. If you want to change, you snap your fingers and they're done. If you're stuck at the airport for whatever reason, you snap your fingers. While our AI cannot get the snowstorm to over soon, but you don't have to, there's no uncertainty. It says, look, currently the schedule is that flight's going to leave, you're booked on it. Or even if that changes, again, there's no heartburn. Again, you're taken care of and you're done, right? Or if you are on a multi-trip hopping, let's say you go from, from London to Paris, and then you're onto a Europe trip. And then you need to go to Rome. But in Rome, you're going to spend an extra 1 day, which is not what you planned. But then you have other itineraries further that you got to go to Frankfurt, you got to go to Greece, whatever. And now because you're changing this 1 day extra or 2 days extra in Rome, somebody got to do the rest of the legs of your trip, hotels and flights and car rentals and whatever you need accordingly, right? Now there's nothing in the world that can do that like this. So that's what our AI does. It is super comfortable to
Yeah,
clients.
that indeed sounds very comfortable and very exciting for viewers, particularly people who try or who fly on a regular basis. Sachin,
Mhm.
so Sachin, let's take a step back and talk about the airlines. So share with our viewers a case study or any story of you transforming an airline's operations or profitability through innovation. You mentioned it's like a marketplace, right? It works for the consumers. It also works for the airlines. So let's talk about the airlines for a minute.
Sure. Now we have more than several dozen airline partners who we have partnered with in Optiontown, and we have generated for them humongous amount of recurring rent, right? Because once a customer has bought a subscription, it means it's not just for one trip; it's for multiple trips. So that means you're getting recurring rent, and we have over 80% renewal rates, right? So people just once they're super comfortable, so that means you're getting high revenue and you're getting recurring revenues, and with that comes loyalty, right? It creates that stickiness, so that's great. And most importantly, I mean, airlines have a tough time. It's such a price commodity today. It is very tough for them to increase their yields or increase their average fare. Yield is like an average fare for per ticket, right? It's very tough for them to do so because it's heavily priced, sold as a price commodity, right? So it's a race to the bottom. But in our situation, because we are enabling the customers to actually personalize it, make it the way level you want. So people don't buy on price, they buy on the value they drive out of. So it's like this. If I give you a car example, I don't know if I may ask, are you still driving a $15,000 or $20,000 car that you may have purchased when you were fresh out of college? Are you still
I,
driving?
I, I still have a Camry, though my daughter drives it now, but I still have a Camry that is
Okay.
2010 model.
Great. But that also says that you have another car which maybe now costed you maybe 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times, or maybe 10 times the cost, right? Now you chose to buy that $50,000 or $100,000 car because it is giving you that extra value, right? So you're not buying on price, you're buying on value. I'm willing to spend more money if you give me better service, better premium, better comfort, better luxury according to what I need, right? That's the model. That's the control we need to give to the customer. Now, that doesn't happen today in the aviation industry, but with our product, we are enabling exactly like that for customers. Okay, so what that does is customers say, "Oh, we're gonna buy the most comfortable products that we want, that we desire." So again, the same thing. Not everybody is now buying a Camry or a Honda Civic, although I have no qualms about them. They are great cars, and people love them, and I love them. But I'm just saying, people segregate themselves into different level of product and services according to their desire and affordability. Today, that doesn't happen in aviation when you're buying single tickets. But when you're buying a personalizable subscription, an AI subscription with Optiontown, that's what happens. So that means people are buying more premium. Now, if people are buying more premium, hurrah! That means that's uplifting the airline industry market size, right? So it's increasing, right? So it's increasing the average price of the ticket because they're buying a much better product. So that's a direct value to the airline industry. We believe, I don't, and I'm making a bold statement that we can take this $1 trillion of the aviation sales and increase it to 1.3 trillion. Okay, 30% increase. And we have done that with some of our airline partners. Generating close to 10% of their revenues at much higher yields, much better profitability, and logged in and happy customers.
Yeah, well, sounds very exciting even for the airline companies. I mean, 10%, you're talking about a total market expansion of 30%. That is very
Yes.
bold, Sachin, and that's very interesting for airline companies. So, Sachin, let's talk about second segment, which is about the AI-driven product and technology strategy. So, what are the core principles behind your application of AI, particularly in customer experience personalization? Because that's what you're fundamentally doing.
Yeah. No, that's great. So see, these days, generally, when people talk about AI, for the last 3-4 years, the euphoria around AI, it's essentially come from natural language processing models, right? Which is great. It has brought AI to the forefront of general consumers into the market, right? Everybody knows now what AI is. But AI has been there for about 50, 70 years. And we have been working on AI. And our AI is actually a vertical AI. It's actually fundamentally disrupting or rooting out inefficiencies from the core supply chain of how that product or service is being manufactured or delivered in the core. And if we can fix that, let me do this. If we can fix a factory with AI, right, it can produce products 30-40% cheaper and 50% better. And then you take that, personalize that for the needs, the preferences, the relative utilities of all the consumers, right? And then you can achieve a collaboration which produces amazing results for both the suppliers and the actual consumers, the clients, right? So that's what we're doing. So it is, and it is allowing consumers to personalize it even better than what they can do for themselves. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you live in Bay Area, and let's say I'm sure you take few trips within the U.S. and maybe a few trips to India every year, right, with you and your family. And you have a certain pattern when you book them, right? Maybe some trips you're booking 2 weeks before departure, some trips you're booking a couple of months before departure, and you're doing it for certain reasons, getting better pricing, or you want to pre-plan, whatever, right? So what our AI will do is that AI will study that data and pattern of yours, optimize what the subscription should look like for your needs, both for your commercial usage. Let's say you run a company and you have 20 employees and you want to do it for them, or 2,000 employees, and for your personal use. And it will then design that subscription for you. And then it will give you all the a la carte choices to say, hey, I know you were booking trips a month before departure for these kinds of trips, okay? And if you want to do that, that's great. We're going to give you 30% less in cost because you're buying a subscription. That's great. But guess what? We believe that you often were restricting yourself, and you really didn't want to book a month before departure. Sometimes you wanted to book much closer in to have that extra flexibility. So we are building in a preference that up to 50% of your flights you could book a week before departure. And the cost to you is just only a little bit this much. So it shows you those options, which then if you think about it, you say, oh yeah, I actually wanted to do that. I've been wanting to do that. So it's great. This AI is helping me to take those optimal decisions that I'm unable to take myself, because you're not always thinking in a full breadth that AI can do for you. So
Yeah.
that's what it does.
Yeah, interesting, Sachin. Sachin, so talk to our viewers about a breakthrough product or service powered by AI that redefined user engagement or revenue for you.
No, that's great. So part of what we just talked about is that the whole experience, travel or AI subscriptions. We just launched a new spin-off company last month. It's called OmVrti. OmVrti, it's headquartered here in California. And what we are doing in OmVrti is that we're going to launch personalized subscriptions for the entire world, not just limited to a few airlines or a few hotels or a few car companies, any provider in the world. So and we're focusing on all the corporate travelers, right? They have such big budgets. For example, some companies spend hundreds of $1,000,000, $500 million. So let's say there's a company that's spending $100 million annually over travel. What OmVrti is going to do for them is that OmVrti, first of all, will eliminate the price volatility, the budget volatility. As you know, these companies, they estimate it to be 100 million, but they could be spending sometime 120, 130 million, right? Because there's so much price volatility. So what our AI will do is eliminate that volatility. The price is controlled. Second, it's going to save them from 20 to 30%. So, they could get it for 80 million, and that too fixed. Third thing, every employee of theirs is going to be able to book their flights themselves in less than 60 seconds without requiring any approvals, going to the travel desk, or fighting on the travel policy or this or that. None of that. So employees would feel that, oh man, this is great. Now I can really make my time more efficient. I don't have to travel on Sunday afternoons because they don't allow me to fly on Monday morning, 6 o'clock. But now I can fly Monday morning, and I can, and I don't have to be stuck one day extra at my destination, and I can come back either to my home sooner or to my office sooner, or I could schedule flights so that I can work in between and have a more productive day. So soft dollars that companies spend on top of the hard dollars, you save all of that and you create such a great experience. So that's what I believe is going to be our next big thing, and we believe we're going to rock the world starting from Q1 next year.
Yeah, that's exciting. OmVrti looks like it's going to indeed rock the world. And I like the fact that you said that corporate employees could just rebook the flight themselves in less than 60 seconds, because I have been a corporate traveler myself, and I understand the pain that employees have to go through, that
Yeah.
corporate travelers have to go through. So, Sachin, let's talk a little bit about regulatory limitations and ethical concerns. So, when you are deploying radical AI-enabled travel solutions, you certainly have to navigate through these. So, how have you been thinking about them?
Yeah. So no, that's a great question. It's a very, very important question. I think you have to regulate AI so that it's doing justifiable thing. It's staying within the law and everything. The first and foremost thing, what the AI will enable is that today, I tell you this, I'm not going to name any companies, but it's everybody knows. Often customers face the brunt of big companies, big transporters, right? Who would people and pull them out of flights, right? Or move them away because they need to move their cabin crew or they need to put some other people. So it's not really a customer's bought a seat, he can be moved out of their seat. There has been regulation around it. It's called denied boarding compensation and whatnot. But still, there are customers who suffer. The second ethics piece of it is that, you are a consumer, you need to travel, and suddenly you have a need to travel. But now they have skyrocketed the fares, and the fares are going to be 4 times because you want to fly in 2 days or one day. I think that while there's no legality involved here, but I think there's ethics involved. Should something cost like 5 times, 4 times, when simply because now you just have a certain urgent need to do so? While there should be something reasonable, well, there can be a premium for a premium service, but the premium should be ethical, is what I would say, right? So I think these both concerns, the AI would help because it would allow for choices to be made and decide in the favor of the travelers, and when customers are buying premium services, the premiums attached to those premium elements, or by premium I mean the extra price or amount they have to pay, is justifiable. It's not like $20,000 extra for something that should cost just a few $100s extra. So I think there's both legality as well as ethics, and I think it will help to bring a little bit more order. So airlines are like oligopolies, right, today. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, if you want to fly from A to B, there are hardly 2 or 3 or 4 direct or nonstop providers, and maybe a few more one stop. So if you want to fly nonstop, you really don't have much of a choice. But with OmVrti, I think what it's going to help is it's going to bring a little bit more ethics into play, and giving people a lot more rights. And on the other end also, so if there are customers who really break the ethics piece, even if they're not breaking the law, but they're really causing a problem, right, in the system and causing a flight to be delayed or this or that, same thing. The AI can again go in and note down that that's what happened, and then take applicable actions to take action so that such things don't happen in the future, or sort of take actions to prevent those people from using the platform in the manner that they could have if they were to behave in a society, how one should behave in a society. So I think it's going to help to bring a little bit more ethics and a little bit more implementation of the law in a better way for both sides.
No, you're right. I mean, legality and ethics both are important in this case. Particularly, many people do complain about lack of transparency on the airlines, especially when flights are delayed, when tickets are rebooked for seemingly non-obvious reasons.
Yes.
So, Sergio, let's talk about. Yeah, go on.
No, sure. Please.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about partnerships. Right. So obviously, in your world, you're partnering as you scale up, right? So, how have partnerships with major airlines or alliances influenced your ability to scale your solutions across markets?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. So in Optiontown was a pure partnership play. We're partnering with different suppliers and airlines and hotels. OmVrti has a mind of its own. OmVrti is not really dependent on partnerships. It is using AI that has billions of data points of data. It has studied the consumer behavior, studied the markets, studied what's happening. And what we're seeing is that even when we don't have partnerships with those suppliers in the marketplace, AI can still predict what are the right uh, products or customizations to offer that customers want, and what is the just right price, estimating what the prices will be in the future in different scenarios, both for peak travel, off peak travel, right? So that's where AI comes into play. It is able to predict what is the right offering to make, and that's what's going to enable us to dramatically scale up without being dependent on partnerships with those suppliers. Now, having said that, you would be happy to know that even though we have not gone live yet with OmVrti, we're going to go in Q1. Already there are partnerships that have been established with some of them, because I think every corporate company, whether it's in travel or otherwise, is recognizing that AI is going to take over a lot of the activities and a lot of the actions, or even if it doesn't take over, it's going to tremendously enhance the productivity of some of those actions. So the sooner you get onto the bandwagon and you do it in the right way, so you would be happy to know there are already several partnerships that have been done because they are saying, well, we can do it ourselves, but let's follow this model. It appears to be promising. So we've already crafted some partnerships, and we're all for partnerships. See, at MIT, the focus was never, oh, just do some one piece of technology, create value, create billions of dollars, and go away. No, the fundamental theme is the whole ecosystem uplift, if I might put it that way, right? So when we are going out to the market, the objective is not that, okay, we just eliminate the current players and we become the law. No. How can we uplift the whole ecosystem? So whoever is in the entire supply chain, providers, their suppliers, and consumers, and whatever, everybody, how can they become better? Everybody is coming better. So we're all for partnership, and we believe more and more partnerships are going to happen in the near future.
Yeah, uplifting the entire ecosystem. That's a great headline. Sajjan, so how are you measuring long-term impact and value creation for your clients beyond immediate revenue gain? And the reason why I ask this question is because you are a veteran, and you've been in the industry as a founder, as running a significant company over a long time. So talk to our viewers about how should leaders be thinking about long-term impact, value creation.
I think that's a great philosophical question. I think long-term value gets created when something happens initially, you feel, say, wow, that's good. You get some benefits. Then in short term, as you utilize that value or service, you say, wow, it has some more benefit that I didn't think in the first look when I looked at it. That's extra benefits. And then over a period of time, as you get into that long-term horizon, you feel, well, that's the only way to go. Why didn't we think of it this way in the first place? Why wasn't it done in any other way? I think when any technology or any service or any proposition comes, any tech comes, and that tech disrupts it, that you reach these stages, that it becomes the norm. That's how things are done, right? I mean, there's no other way. And you get the mass to whether it's the suppliers or the consumers, which includes people and businesses. That's when I believe the long-term value is created. And I think all the leaders, I believe, should think about that, keep that in the mind. Especially, you said about something about the taking long-term bet, and if I may connect that to the long-term view, bold bet with this. When you're taking bold bets, and you can do that if you have a long-term view, because sometimes you have to take a short-term loss, or a short-term hit, or a medium-term hit. But if you go through this step, in the long term, it's going to come out much, much better. So I think that if you do that with that mindset, I think it will help to create more sustainable change in the whole ecosystem, whatever industry, whatever solution, whatever problem you're solving.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about your leadership philosophy as well. So, if you reflect on the growth journey that you have had, what leadership philosophy has most effectively propelled your team through industry turbulence? And the reason I ask is because the airline industry has seen a lot of turbulence, particularly during COVID times when everybody just stopped flying, right? So those were very difficult times for the industry, and then now you have emerged out to almost pre-COVID era.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you this. When I was studying, growing up and studying, there was always this me thing, because when you study, you're going through your education journey. It's an individual thing. You study, you work hard, you practice, you take exams, you score, you win competition. It's a me I thing, majority of it, although there are interactions and whatnot. Now, when I got to MIT and we were going through this thing, the most important theme that I heard of was team, right? And it wasn't clear to me at that time why they are focusing so much. I understand you need teamwork, and that's important. That's super, but why so? I think I felt that there was too much focus on the teamwork. But boy, how wrong I was. It has been the most important thing in one's long-term journey is how strong your team is and how loyal they are to the vision, not to the leader, not to the something, but to that common vision, that what you're and that's exactly what got us through this, all the challenge. And of course the biggest one was COVID. COVID was that in a matter of, I think, 2 quarters, the volumes went from 100% to like less than 5%. So I'm not talking about 5% drop, I'm talking about 95% drop. So so you can imagine, I mean, they did not have room where to park the planes. Okay, they had to be parked in deserts and whatnot, because the airports are not made for that many aircraft to just be on the ground at the same time. They're supposed to be on the ground, in the air, flying. So it was and I think it was the teamwork of the people. I'm sure you know that many companies at that time, slash their team force, or ask people to leave or whatever, or furloughed them, and or cut their salaries and whatever, took all those kinds of measures. And we took a very different approach there. Our approach was that we had a town hall kind of a meeting where we came together and said, look, of course the current cost structure isn't, we can't survive on that, but what can we do different? Instead of us taking a capitalistic corporate approach, we took a little bit more social approach there. And we said, what are the personal situations of different individuals? And what can we do? And you would be surprised, there were people who worked voluntarily at zero salaries for several quarters. And there were people who only took a 10% haircut because their personal situations demanded that they at least have a 90% that what they were getting before. So it wasn't, no human being, no financial planner or CFO could have predicted that if they were to sit down and do that, because you don't know what the individual situation of people are. So I think that really helped. Again, it talks about the teamwork, and that whether the team is motivated to achieve a common goal or the common vision. So I think that is what brought us through that challenge. People were willing when there were. We have a huge team in India, and in India, I don't know if you remember, but they had put like a severe lockdown during COVID, like severe lockdown. Meaning you wouldn't even allowed, but it was the heroism of some of our team members who had to, because you were not geared to work from home, right? Initially, the systems weren't geared that everybody could work from home. So that means some people had to go in and do some stuff so that everybody else can now start working from home, right? There were some actions. So I think people just pulled through. So it was teams. So that's why I would come back. I think the most important thing is exceptional teamwork, coordination, and I think that's what brought us through all these challenges. And this is the biggest one. There were, believe me, now if I think about it, there are far more challenges than wins, I believe. But the wins were important. and they happened because we persevered through all those challenges. So I think teamwork is the single most important thing that I believe that allowed us to achieve what we have achieved so far as a
Yeah.
team.
So Sachin, I want the any of the founders or wannabe founders who are listening to this show, I want them to be, just take that for a minute. Teamwork, as you rightly said, and I love the way you said that the way you guys figured out you should take how much card, a very socialistic approach towards compensation, particularly at the time of difficulties. That's a very, very interesting model and inspirational at the same time. All right, so we're going to talk about the emerging trends and the future of AI in travel. So, talk to our viewers about under the radar advances of AI or automation, which are likely to disrupt travel. We are in December right now, right? We're hitting 2026. So, what are the under the radar advances in AI automation that you feel are going to disrupt the airline industry or the travel industry?
Okay. Well, I think, let's say, I think in the next couple of years, I predict that in the next few years, couple of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years at most, between 2 and 5 years, I think majority of the people will stop booking tickets themselves. It's going to be AI planning every part of their itinerary, and it's going to do a great job. So that's one. I believe that's going to happen in travel. The second thing is, I think, which I also predict, is that the Web3 hasn't creeped into travel yet. Are you familiar with the Web3? What Web3 is doing? I think Web3 is going to come in, and we're doing work on Web3 as well. That Web3 is going to come in and is going to create not just ownership or co-ownership of all the customers and whoever, whether corporate companies or in collective decision making of something that is so instrumental. If you take travel away, I mean, what stopped in COVID? Essentially, the biggest thing that stopped in COVID was travel. Human beings could not travel for work, or supply chains got disrupted. And that just stopped the whole world. Travel is recently I saw that overall travel was like more than $10 trillion, like almost 10% of the global GDP. But it's a enabler to the rest of the GDP activities, right? If goods can't move, or if people can't move, it makes it very hard. And I think so. I think the Web3 is going to come in, and I think it will be good. It'll be good. It will decentralize some of the decision making that is happening. It will also decentralize some of or rather minimize some of the problems. Very recently, I don't know if you noticed, but just last week, India saw a big problem.
The Indigo Airlines. Yeah.
Yes, with the Indigo Airlines problem. And I know the team, I know sort of people there, and they're great team people working very hard. But I think they just don't have the AI yet which could have so easily fixed this and prevented this from happening. And I think AI will prevent all such things to happen. This was a pure optimization problem. So I don't know if you know, but for the viewers who don't know, essentially there are a new set of regulation that says cabin crew can work this much and cabin crew must have rest after this much. That's sort of those guidelines change. And the airline, which is the largest player in, I think, more than 50% of the market share, and hence the problem. If they had just 20% of the market share and only one airline had problem, this would not happen because the rest of the 80% could absorb. But because India is domestically reliant on one airline to do more than 50%, and if that company has a problem, then everybody's going to suffer. But I think the problem that out of it is a mathematical optimization problem, that you have thousands and thousands of cabin crew, and there are schedules and there are constraints, and nobody could quickly optimize or re-optimize that efficiently, effectively. And I think AI can do that very easily. So I think these problems should go away, should not occur. So I think, it's a benefit for both the airlines as well as the consumers, because such catastrophes, it is a catastrophe. I mean, I saw a thing on the web that there's a couple, and they were going to their wedding reception or something, and they could not get to their wedding reception. So at the venue, they put up a big screen where the bride and the bridegroom sat on a big TV, and everybody had to see them. Can you imagine this? I mean, it is such an important thing of that couple's life, and what impacted it, that somebody could not decipher how to re-optimize. And so many lives, or I'm so sure in the businesses also, business impact you don't get to talk about, but business impact, I'm sure, must have been hundreds and hundreds of, or perhaps billions of dollars of loss that the country or businesses may have suffered because of that. So I think AI can prevent such kind of occurrences.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, while we talk about the experience and the revenue part, but there's so many things that can just be optimized, and bad experiences can just be, just go away. Sachin, so what is your vision for next generation AI applications that would redefine airline and travel interactions, not just over 2026 and beyond, but over the next 5, 10 years?
Well, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, what AI would enable is private flying. Meaning there is no reason, in my view, and this is something that we have been thinking about, and so I think more and more private flying would start to happen. There would be they're already making those aircrafts which are much smaller in size and can allow you to fly easily. Either you fly it yourself, or there will be like sort of a common term for those are like a flying taxi, which you may have been hearing for the last several years to come. I think that's gonna come in, and so it's going to be not only just flying from A city to B. You're going to see flying cars or flying taxis, but the real word is going to be an aircraft. You can call it whatever you want, but it's an aircraft, it's smaller in size, and it can take you from A to B much faster. So I think that's going to disrupt all of those traffic jams and all of those mobility issues that we otherwise face, especially in big cities like New York, or in the Bay Area, or Boston, or Houston, or whatever in the world, or London, for example. I think it will decongest some of that. I think that's going to happen.
Very interesting, very interesting, and looking forward to it, because those are real pain points that travelers all over the world have.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to the rapid fire round. Sachin, here's my first question to you. What is the most misunderstood challenge of AI implementation in travel?
Misunderstood. Well, I think I would give it a little bit different name. When there is a disruption in aviation due to snowstorm or aircraft on ground or another sort of situation, what airlines are trying to do, which I believe is misunderstood by them or misconceived, they try to create something only thinking what's most optimal for them. Okay, 5 aircrafts are ground. What do I have? How can I just move people from A to B quickly? Because there's pile of people now. I think what's misunderstood there is that they don't talk to customers. At best, what airlines do is they'll say, oh, this guy paid the highest amount of ticket price, so maybe he's the most important guy, and maybe he's the most urgent need to be from A to B. So they're going to try and just put that guy in the first line of priority, who has to be reaccommodated. Or I think that's misunderstood. Well, that person may be what it is, but there could be a student who is on a shoestring budget and who's going to attend his lifetime chance for that first job interview that is in the final round, and he must get to that interview. And for him, it is like the whole world will fall apart if they, for whatever reason, they're not going to hold the job for him. They may just accept other candidates. I think that may have a very profound impact on that student's life, that one thing. And if they could, I think that challenge is being misunderstood. Where what AI can do is AI can actually understand those relative urgencies across those customers and put them in the right priority order, giving due right to people who can pay premium, but also giving right to people who really have urgent needs but may not be able to afford to pay that kind of premium. But it's not their fault that they are in that situation. So, but I think they're to service them ahead of some of the other people, and at the same time, there are people, just to share with you, who don't actually care, but because they're paying big bucks, they're going to be put ahead. They just don't care. So I think AI is. I think this just challenge is being sort of misunderstood. And the last week thing, right? I'm sure. Well, while this catastrophe is underplaying at Indigo, there may be customers who may still be handled in this manner, as opposed to, because there's no system available And the development that I see people doing is not taking that into consideration. Yeah.
So, Sachin, that's actually a very human-centric way of solving this real problem that I have, and I love this answer.
Well, thank you.
All right. So the next one that I have for you, one legacy practice in airlines you hope that AI will eliminate forever.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to speak my mind out. I think the worst legacy practice is that airlines are considered as national pride. They're not considered as regular corporations, which are there to invest and then produce service or provide and then make money and give returns to their shareholders, right? That's a normal company life cycle. Airlines are somehow considered to be national pride. So even when companies make suboptimal decisions, there is some sort of a Uncle Sam of their respective countries coming through and giving them billions and billions of dollars of aid and helping them either go through a bankruptcy or some way still lifting them up again. And that is happening without a pure commercial viewpoint. I think that is a practice I've seen so many times the last 25 years across geographies that is being done. I think if others are able to do better job and you are not able to do better job, I think then that company can ask for assistance and should be given assistance to the level that other companies in other industries are given assistance, but not beyond. So I think maybe the governments or the can think about that and whether they should continue to support, because what I believe what that does is it is somehow indirectly rewarding inefficiency. It is rewarding complacency. It is rewarding that since we are so large and since you are the only game in town in 40% of your market, right? There's no one flying nonstop. You begin to feel like monopolistic and there's complacency and you're not. So I believe some of that will go away if that Uncle Sam's hand is no longer there or perceived to be there. You have to really produce.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, complacency. There's no place for complacency in this kind of a model. All right. So our third question to you is: what is the favorite emerging technology outside of AI that could impact travel?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer because what they're doing is AI. They're bringing AI because of what's going on in the AI field. They've added AI, even if it's only adding 0.5% of the value in almost everything. So my answer to you will be sort of AI is they're trying to integrate almost everywhere, but wherever the impact is not as much AI, but other elements to it. I think the one great thing that is happening, and it has already happened, but I think not in such a profound manner, is going to be discovery. So if you want to travel and you want to know the real information about that whole place or the whole country or spots or everything, of course there are information, reviews, everything there, so many of them for a number of years now. But I think people, if you've gone there by yourself and if you've done that and then you write about it, then you feel a lot more than what you read beforehand, right? There's a huge difference that as a traveler you see after you've taken that trip, because that means that much of information did not come to you, even though it exists in the world, but it did not come to you. You don't feel, oh, I've almost, even though I've not gone there, but I almost feel I've been there. I could absorb the information in such an easy, cool, simple manner because that information. I think that technology discovery is what I'm calling it. Probably it is happening. I see some of the startups are working on that, and I believe that would be an important piece for this.
Yeah. All right. Very interesting. I would look forward to that technology. The next one for you is a word or phrase, the biggest myth about digital transformation in aviation.
Can you repeat that question again?
Yeah. In a word or phrase, how do you describe the biggest myth about digital transformation in aviation?
Biggest myth. Yeah, I think the biggest myth is established legacy players think they can do all by themselves internally. Because the biggest myth. And so do it yourself or not invented here kind of syndrome. That is the biggest myth. They often, and we felt that too, in the initial years when they would not give you appointments or to meet you because hey, you're an outsider. And anyway, even if you're an insider, we think we can do everything ourselves. Something is not invented inside internally in our company, then it's probably not good enough. So I believe that's sort of the biggest myth.
Wow, that's a beautiful answer. Yeah, that's true for a lot of other industries too, but you're right. In aviation, I have heard a lot about that. All right, the last one and the fifth one lesson from a failed experiment that shaped your strategy.
Yeah, the very first thing we did was such a big failure. So 20 years ago, when we had worked on our algorithms and designed all the AI, everything, we thought we were going to take it on a CD and go to each of these large players, airlines, hotels, and implement it for them, and then they'll use it, right? And they'll pay us some money, and as a pure service SaaS provider. And we failed because for 2 years, what we realized is that they have 18, 24-month IT cycles. And that's the time when they will even consider whether they can consider you for the next round of implementation or not. So for almost about 2 years, we failed. But I think it was also a blessing in disguise for us. It forced us to think that, okay, this model is not going to work. So then what can we do? What is the best way? Well, the best way is that we go direct. Is there a model of implementing our cool technology in a manner that we have to do very little with all these, very little, or the absolute minimum possible, and that the most of the stuff we can do ourselves? So it was like the need is what is that phrase? Mother of all inventions, right?
Yeah.
Necessity is the mother of all inventions.
Necessity is the mother of all inventions.
So it was only after the failure of after 2 years that we realized that.
Very interesting, very interesting. So Sachin, that was the last question that I had for you. Thank you so much. This has been a very interesting conversation about the aviation world.
Well, thank you very much, Arun. It was also my pleasure to speak with you.
And good luck for OmVrti.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye then.